Good morning. It's Monday, March 11th, about 6 a.m. Central Time. All right, the precious metals are mixed after Friday's explosive session. You have April gold at 21.83, down $2. You have May silver down 2 cents at 24.52. May copper's up 1 at 3.90. And also April platinum up 13 at 9.28. That's a big move. Friday it was under a lot of pressure. And then June palladium up 14 at 10.40. So a lot of concern, a lot of conversations I've had just recently here is on the stock market and whether or not we're in a bubble. There's a lot of anxiety about it. And the argument is that the concentration is in the 7 stocks. The stocks are starting to have some cracks in it. We saw a lot of sell off here in Nvidia after posting new highs, selling off pretty dramatically. Huge range in there. Tesla seems to be weakening. Apple seems to be at the low end of the range, and the concentration in the 7 stocks. The 7 stocks have an earnings of about 30 times the price of what they're trading at. And then if you take the counter argument of it, and this is where I'll push back at people, is say that, look at, the counter argument is that the equal weighted S&P hit all-time highs, so it should tell you that there's disbursement amongst rally. And then if you look at the S&P, it trades at 21 times earnings. And if you go back to 2000 in the dot-com bubble, it was 45 times earnings. In 2009 with the financial crisis, 70 times earnings. And then the dot-com bubble with the NASDAQ was 200 times earnings. So those were my counter arguments on there. Just want to get that out of the way. Now, if you look at Bitcoin breaking through 72,000 for the first time ever in the early action hours, it's up $2,840, 72,645, and Ethereum is well over 4,000 at the moment. So it had some weakness overnight, came back as well. I mentioned these two because they're going to have a lot of impact on the precious metals. If you see the S&P collapse, if you see Bitcoin collapse, it's going to weigh in on things like copper, silver, platinum, and the gold market might have a mixed reaction to it, so we'll have to see what happens. Two other markets that I'm watching, the Japanese yen. The Bank of Japan meeting is on March 18th and 19th. Throw up a Japanese yen chart on your screen. You'll see that there is some speculation that the BOJ could be scrapping its negative interest rate policy. So the Japanese yen is finally starting to rally to the upside. That does put pressure on the dollar index, and it does help out our gold market and our other precious metals. Another market that I'm looking at that I generally don't talk about on here is the soybean market. People are asking what are other markets that I'm looking at with these metals at such lofty highs. Soybeans, you had ending stocks 315 versus 319 million bushels, and the world ending stocks were 114.27 versus 114.7. So soybeans had a massive rally on Friday. So those are a couple things that we're looking at. Now, getting into the precious metals, there's some big events this week. You're going to have CPI on Tuesday. You're going to have a bond auction on Wednesday. You also have PPI on Thursday. You bet your bottom line that it's going to move these markets here. So my line in the sand on the gold market. So briefly traded over 2,200. Felt a little bit of FOMO from some people on Friday, and then it kind of backed off, closed right around that 2180, 2190 level in there. We are a bit weaker here today. The line in the sand, if you look at the chart, it's gone up, it's peaked, it went over 2200, selling off a bit here. 2150 is really the line in the sand. You don't want to see Friday's close get taken out on a closing basis, and you don't want to see 2150 get taken out. If it has that, chances are there's going to be some widespread liquidation, and we're going to see money trying to find homes in elsewhere. Getting into the silver market, it's actually flattened out around 24.50 and hasn't gone anywhere. It made an attempt to the upside on Friday, made also a downside sell-off on Friday, and ended up closing basically unchanged on the day. So your 200-day moving average, 24.01, that's kind of my line in the sand, and 23.84 below that. So if you had to buy gold or buy silver, my recommendation, if you were to call me up on the phone, I would say, hey, have that 2150 as your stop placement, have the 2401 as your stop placement on it. If you had a little bit more cushion, I would go 2384 on the silver market. So looking at platinum, finally starting to break out to the upside. Not quite a long position on there, but it has pushed up. It's going to run in a 200-day moving average at 939 as your resistance point, and your key level support is going to most likely be about Friday's low, which was like 913 in that range. And then the copper market kind of just consolidating, which is nice and healthy here right around this 390 level. I really think that the 50-day moving average 383 is your key level of support. So those are a couple markets that I'm looking at, a couple things that are on my radar. Again, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a lot lot of volatility events there. You got any questions, give me a call, 312-858-7303. Remember, futures and option trading does involve risk loss. May not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.